You don't like moral victories, but when it's the Chiefs and you come in and you you have the best offense that this team has had all season, yes, you lose 28-34 to the Kansas City Chiefs if you're a Denver Broncos fan, but do you walk away thinking, is this a moral victory? I know we're disappointed, but this is the best the offense has looked all season.
It's interesting. Just a couple of guys here in the stands are yelling at us, and they're not overly disappointed. And when you think of the score being 27-0 in the first half, where this could have gone, Rachel,
That's very true.
34-28, competitive, right down to the wire. Defense couldn't quite get the stop that they needed to get the ball back one last time. The late interception with Rippin was, there was nowhere else to go. He had to try something. Total desperation, and after the penalty, it was like a punt anyways. So I'm really not overly upset about that. Patrick Mahomes made a couple of ridiculous Patrick Mahomes types of plays.
He also had quite a few mistakes.
And the Broncos team didn't wilt. He did. And we did talk quite a bit about the Chiefs being -4 in giveaway, takeaway going into the game. They were just prone, Rachel, to make mistakes. It's just that they're also the leading scoring team in the NFL. But if they bow out early in the playoffs, it's probably because they're going to shoot themselves in the foot. They do make mistakes. And they made enough for the Broncos to be more than competitive in this game, and it was ridiculously entertaining. And then you had the moment that Russell Wilson got knocked out.
Yeah.
And it was on a really awesome scramble, diving head first, giving it everything he possibly could in a year that's been a total disaster. So I tip my hat to Russell Wilson, man. He showed a lot of compete. He didn't give up. He got hurt trying to make a pretty heroic play at a time they needed it.
And that was like the fourth play, it seemed like, in a row that he was really taking the chance to be like, all right, I'm going to carry this team on my back. So, yeah, you got to really give credit where credit is due, because he literally took it until he couldn't play anymore.
Yeah, and listen, Russell Wilson got the shizzle kicked out of him tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, the Chiefs had, I'll double check it, I think they had 12 quarterback hits. 11, oh, sorry, hold on one second.
They had 6 sacks on Russell Wilson, though.
Yeah, Russell Wilson was hit 11 times, sacked 6 times, loads of pressure. The Broncos' offensive line is garbage right now.
Yes.
And that was much more on the Broncos' offensive line than on Russell Wilson. No, this was probably the best game Russell Wilson's had as a Bronco. But Rachel, they were down 27-0, and one of the plays that put them down 27-0 was a pick six that Russell Wilson, it was a great play, but Russell Wilson was still responsible for that particular one. Here's how they found some energy is because the defense got turnovers, and it was 2 spectacular interceptions by Josie Jewell and Patrick Surtain that the Broncos converted into touchdowns. The Broncos were 3 for 3 in the red zone. So when they got it in the red zone, they did finish. So there were so many positive things from today compared to other games. I know people hate the term moral victory, but I'm going to use it. Because the vibe here in the stadium was fantastic. The crowd was into it. There were only a couple thousand no-shows, which is very, very average. The weather was nice, a little windy, but the weather was nice. Now, this is a damn good game, Rachel, and it sucks to lose to the Chiefs yet again. But this was a really exciting game, and we thought it was barreling down to 49-0. We were joking earlier in the game who would put up more points, the Avalanche or the Broncos, and that was valid for a good chunk of the game.
No, it was. And just the question is, and I think the worry of some people is going to be, was this enough to prove to the ownership, be like, hey, we're starting to figure things out. We didn't get the win. I know we're very, very injured, but we're starting to get things figured out. So can I stick around and have my job for another year if you're Nathaniel Hackett?
This is a great game for Nathaniel Hackett. Yeah. It was... Again, the first half was bad, and but no, overall, Rachel, for Hackett,
did this just save his job?
Well, it certainly didn't cost him his job. There is zero chance he gets canned tomorrow. But it was, Rachel, 27-0.
I was thinking it could happen. I have my family group chat, and I was like, oh, this could make for a very interesting game. our day tomorrow.
Well, think about it for a second. It's 27-0. Are the Chiefs going to score at least 2 touchdowns in the second half? You would think so. So, well, okay, there's 41. What are the Broncos actually going to put up without the turnovers from the Chiefs? So it was a crazy roller coaster here today, to the point the Broncos had a couple of shots to actually take the lead with the ball in their hands, and they couldn't quite come through. And now we wait to see what the condition of Russell Wilson is, and where that actually goes.
Yes, and we'll hear from James Marilat. He's going to listen to what Nathaniel Hackett has to say and be able to fill us in a little bit. But, oof, he really took it. We saw the picture with Pubble's the first word that comes to my head, but yeah, I mean, look at it on the screen. You can see it.
A huge welt. Yeah, that's
welt. What a great word. Much better than bubble like I had. But yeah, that just looks brutal. But honestly, if you're today a Denver Broncos fan, you're saying, I'm kind of proud to have Russell Wilson be my quarterback, because he really went for it.
He did, and good for Russell Wilson.
And he got the offense rolling too. I mean, what? 3 touchdowns for him.
Yeah, I mean, good game. 23 of 36 for 247.
And now, it's still a loss, D-Mac. We're still talking about this, and we're all happy and cheery, and it's a loss.
It is a loss, and he was helped out statistically because he throws a little dump down to Marlon Mack, and the Chiefs, they got their own issues. 66 yards, which is technically a pass. And Marlon Mack was so wide open, he almost fell down getting into the end zone. Like, he couldn't keep his feet. He was so excited about it. Jerry Jeudy had 8 targets. Jerry Jeudy had 8 catches. Jerry Jeudy had 3 touchdowns. I mean, if you just want to look at moments of like, hey, something good's going on here, Jerry Jeudy, without a doubt, became your slam dunk number 1 receiver and had a freaking fantastic day. And Russell Wilson had a good day, a really good, solid day. You 1 interception, that sucked because it was the pick 6, so you gave up some points on that. But 3 touchdown passes and
I also
tough.
want to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson only has one of his wide receivers that we thought he was going to have this season.
Yeah.
No Cortland Sutton. No KJ Hamler. No Tim Patrick. He's working with Kendall Hinton. And again, not to be disrespectful to Kendall Hinton, Brandon Johnson, etc. But you don't expect those guys to go out there and be wide receiver number 1s, let alone 2 or 3.
No, I thought they were going to use Albert Okwuegbunam. They didn't use him at all. Next to Kendall Hinton did have 5 catches.
And some good ones, some clutch ones.
Dulcich had 3 catches on 8 targets. So they were trying to get it to the tight end. It just wasn't connecting all the time. He averaged 6.9 yards a completion, Russell Wilson did. So it wasn't like crazy, outrageous yardage.
But maybe we've talked about it all season, D-Mac. Bring it back down to the basic. Let's play basic football. Let's not make crazy trick plays or anything like that. Bring it down to the basics. And it kind of felt like that's what they did tonight. And they looked pretty nice.
Well, I liked, in the pregame show, Mike Evans and I were like, just go for it today.
Yeah.
What are you holding back for? And the whole, you got to run the ball, establish a run is such, tired drivel. The working the run and using all that, sure. I'm not saying it doesn't have a place. But at the end of the day, you're just not doing anything. So Mike and I were just saying, I don't know, even if you lose by 100, just at least go for it. 19 carries, that's it. And Russell Wilson had 4 of them. So Rachel, and Rippon had 1. So we're talking about 14 carries on this game. That's it. 14 called carries. And Latavius Murray had 8, Mack had 3. It was a series of big explosive plays that worked for the Broncos based off of turnovers. And good for Patrick Surtain getting his first interception. Absolutely spectacular interception. And not only did Josie Jewell have 2 interceptions, but he led the team in tackles as well.
Yeah.
So, we did have good stuff going on here today, Rach. We did.
I know, but it's still a loss. And so we have to ask ourselves, too, knowing that this is possibly the number 1 seed in the AFC and the Kansas City Chiefs, a very good football team. Patrick Mahomes is an incredible quarterback. Did they overlook the Broncos, resulting in the score?
They might have. And I made this reference earlier how last night at the Nuggets game, Jamal Murray just admitted we're playing an undermanned Utah team. We did look past them. This game reminded me a lot of that Nuggets game because you're like, they're going to blow out the Jazz, and the Jazz hung in there. They're going to blow out the Jazz, and the Jazz hung in there. And then the Nuggets did win by just a 5-point margin, and kind of that's how today felt. You had a huge lead by the Chiefs, and the Broncos just kept hanging in. And I really even thought, you know what? It's 27-21. Chiefs got a couple more touchdowns here. It could still look like a ridiculous blowout. And they did get one more score, and that's what they needed. They only got one touchdown in the second half. So again, the Broncos actually did so many good things. And I'll tell you this with Russell Wilson. He did do what you have to do in the NFL. You have to pick up first downs with your quarterback as an option. The problem is, yes, you might get hurt doing that, but it doesn't change the fact you still have to try and do it. And Russell Wilson had 4 carries for 57 yards. And the Broncos, Rach, I got to say this real quick. They were 6 of 17 on third down. 6 of 17, which doesn't sound incredible, but they were 2 of 12 last week. So 6 of 17 is a massive improvement. And 3 for 3 in the red zone.
If Russell Wilson would have stayed in the game, would you have had a little bit of hope? And that's what kills this team and this fan base is there's been hope in what feels like every single game. That's why I kind of feel like this game doesn't feel like quite a letdown. Because we've always been like the last second, there's D-Mac and I in the tunnel. We're so like, what's going to happen in the last 30 seconds? It didn't happen. We knew it was over.
I think they would have had a much better chance to win with Russell Wilson than Brett Rippon. No doubt about it.
So does that mean you should have brought in Baker Mayfield?
Well, I would have absolutely, and that's a great example. I 1,000% would have brought in Baker. Can you imagine the energy in this joint had Baker Mayfield walking in this game? Listen, Brett Rippon wasn't horrible. He threw a nice touchdown pass when he really had to.
But he's never going to be quarterback number 1. And you almost need a quarterback number 1 when your quarterback number 1 goes out.
The truth
That's
of
what you want. That's a perfect roster right there at the quarterback position.
I would have brought in Baker Mayfield for a million different reasons.
Yes.
But the reason they lost this game wasn't because they didn't bring in Baker Mayfield. I still would have done it, but it gives you an interesting scenario. Depending on how bad Russell Wilson's concussion is, how long are you missing Russell Wilson for? And that's a more compelling thing, maybe not this game, but the last portion of the week if you had somebody like Baker Mayfield. You don't. You got Jarrett Guarantano on the practice squad, and maybe he gets activated to the 53 if Russ is out for a concussion.
In my opinion, good GMs always think about the bad scenarios. And when you think about the bad scenarios, you think about injuries and what ends up happening. You want to have a good backup QB. Not that Brett Rippon's not fantastic. We understand that. We've gone through it. He's not the worst either. But Baker Mayfield is definitely better. Okay, we will bring in James Marilat because he heard what Nathaniel Hackett had to say at the podium. I'm always interested. Are we going to get, a moral victory type speech from James? James, how are you today?
Well, you're not going to get a moral victory speech from me. I'm fine, by the way. But you got it from Nathaniel Hackett and from the Denver media. I mean, it was like a victory press conference. Everything was awesome. Russ was awesome. Brett was awesome. Josie was awesome. The defense was awesome. They battled back from 27-0 down. Everything was great. Everything was awesome. That was the message coming out of Coach Hackett's press conference from the softball questions from the Denver media. Oh, my gosh. They don't need to listen to that thing and be embarrassed by what they were throwing to Nathaniel Hackett. You're 3-10, dude. Your team was down 27-0 at one point. Great, you made it close because Patrick Mahomes just kept making mistakes. But oh my goodness! By the way, I was sitting in the back green room here listening to you guys talk. Brett Rippon got the ball twice, down 6. 6 plays, 7 yards, a punt, and an interception. Can we stop talking that Brett Rippon played fine? He threw one pass. The 4th and 7 pass was fine. They had the ball on the damn 2-yard line, and he got a touchdown. Way to go! He had the ball twice. 6 plays, 7 yards. Good.
You got 2 people here who would have brought in Baker Mayfield. I'm with you, James. Like I said, good GMs, in my personal opinion, they plan for the absolute worst. Well, what's the absolute worst when your $150 million quarterback of the next 2 years goes out, right? That's what you plan for.
I mean, I just love James, man. I love James so much because the passion about, James, do you want to give credit for anything here today? I mean, it's okay.
It's still a loss.
I'm not saying you're wrong here, but do you want to give credit for anything?
Yeah, I'm going to give you a little teaser on my column for tomorrow. If you're in Broncos country, if Russell Wilson didn't win you over today, then he's never going to win you over. Russell Wilson, look, you mentioned the $150 million, Rachel. I get it. That's the part of it. but you've got a ton of money. You've got a Super Bowl. You've got the superstar wife. You've got all the things going on. You're 3-9, and you're out there on 3rd and 11 scrambling and diving and trying to get a first down. Sign me up for Russell Wilson. I'll take Russell Wilson. I think it's a Nathaniel Hackett problem. I think it's a surrounding cast problem. I think it's a George Payton problem. But Russell Wilson, if he didn't win you over today, if you're in Broncos country, he's not going to. That was a valiant effort. And had he been healthy, had he been out there, I'm not saying they would have won. I'm not. But guys, how much more fun would the last 5, 6, 7 minutes of that game have been had Russell Wilson been healthy? He won. I was on Team Russ. D-Mac, I was on with you a couple of times and said, hey, let's save the tape and coffee break and all that stuff. I'm even more Team Russ after today. That was a gutty performance. And look, a lot of people quit, shut it down. He's playing for a 3-9 team, and he's doing that. Sign me up for Team Russ. I'm on board.
Well, listen, I said this was Russell Wilson's best game, and I tipped my cap to him, James, and I was incredibly complimentary. You were down 27-0, though.
I get it.
You gave up a pick 6, and, things weren't happening. So, okay, I'm rolling with you. But boy, oh boy, was it contingent on Josie Jewell and Patrick Surtain making a couple of unbelievable interceptions. I mean, you did finish it off. But where's Russell Wilson in this game, James, if those turnovers don't happen?
Oh, look, I get it. And the defense was good to get him back in it. Those were 3 huge plays. But just go back, D-Mac and Rachel, watch the pick 6. The pick 6 is the epitome of what's wrong with this team. It's a screen pass. Russell Wilson doesn't have any time to make the throw, right? It's 4th and 1. The Chiefs don't buy play action at all because they don't think the Broncos are going to run the football. Problem 1. So he's got a guy in his face right away. And it's going to Brandon Johnson, who hasn't even turned around yet for the pass. Like, it's 4th and 1. You have to make the throw. You can't take the sack. It's a little bit like Melvin Gordon's fumble in Seattle in the opener. 4th and goal from the 1, you get hit at the 3-yard line. I guess you could just go down and, turn it over on downs, or you could lunge for the end zone. Russell Wilson had no shot on that play. That's the epitome of what's wrong with this team. Terrible job up front. Terrible scheme, and he's throwing it to Brandon Johnson, a guy who a month ago was in the midst of 4 weeks being on the street, not even on a team. I mean, it's laughable. Russell Wilson was really good today. Russell Wilson, I'm not going to say he's making chicken salad, but he's pretty close to making chicken salad.
All right, let me ask you and Rachel a question then. He's got a concussion. I think that's beyond clear. Would you shut Russell Wilson down for the rest of the year?
No.
I would.
James?
Yeah, I would.
You would.
What we saw today was, listen, he was out cold when he got hit. His teammates frantically waving for the training staff.
Scary.
There's nothing to be gained. Nothing. You're playing for 20.
Well,
Wait.
No, but it would, to James's point, and the reason why I asked the question, I think he should not play next week. I can tell you that right now. Nobody recovers from a concussion that quickly, and from everything we saw, it was actually pretty terrifying. I was happy to see him walk off the field under his own strength, but that's a game right there. Well, that's the Cardinals, and then you just have 4 games after that. I mean,
but you have a head coach who's gonna lose his job.
Well, but we have a head coach who's going to lose his job. You can just shut him down if you're George Payton, if you get the word from Greg Penner. We've seen enough, and I think we actually have seen enough.
They have. And Rachel, it was very similar to last year, almost at exactly the same time when Teddy Bridgewater got the concussion, right? He had to be carted off, and we never saw Teddy again the rest of the year because they weren't playing for anything. And heck, they were more in it last year than they are now. They're 3-10. Okay, yeah. What could make this season worse? Russell Wilson suffering some sort of injury while he's not 100% healthy, and that makes it to where he's not available for mini camps and training camp and the start of next year. That's the only thing that could make this debacle worse. Nope. Go with Brett Rippon. Be the worst offense in the last 20 years in the NFL. Nathaniel Hackett gets broomed out, and you bring somebody in here who can actually make it work with Russell Wilson, and that ain't a mission impossible. But yeah, Russ should be done. There's no reason.
Yeah, let me just expand on it just slightly. At halftime, we had a light show when it was daylight out. I'm gonna tell you this. They still went on with the light show.
There were fireworks and everything.
Even though it was daylight. Well, That light show would have been awesome if the game was about to kick off right now, which is what it should have been. This should have been a Sunday night game. And I'm going to tell you, the light show they did in daylight was going to be amazing if it was dark.
Wait a minute.
My point is, this is a flexed game. This was it. This, folks, right here, this is the end of the season. There is nothing else to play for. Your only two games are the Chargers and the Cardinals. Who cares for both of those? That's it. This was it. This game still felt like it had some juice. It had some meaning. And you know what? To the Broncos' credit, they played that way, which is freaking awesome. The crowd was into it. They were almost leaving down 27-0.
Oh.
In fact, I think we saw some season ticket holders leave. So I got to give the Broncos props. It was a lousy season top to bottom, but you showed a lot of courage and conviction in this final game. Of course, Hackett needs to be gone. That is an absolute no-brainer. What other changes need to happen, who knows? But getting your key players hurt after this point, I think today was worth playing for everybody, but I don't think that's going to be the case moving forward.
And let me change my answer to the question, too. I guess when you said it, I thought, will Russell Wilson be done for the rest of the year? And that's why I say no. Yes, should he? I completely agree with both of you. But I think as a head coach, you're going to look at it and you're going to be like, we've been able to put quite a bit of blame on Russell Wilson so far. I still think Nathaniel Hackett's gone at the end of the season. But also, we know who Russell Wilson is as a competitor. And there's no way that I can anticipate that with him being like, he has control of the locker room. He has control a lot of the front office. So I think he makes a lot of the decisions and not the head coaches.
He has 12 bathrooms and 72 advisors.
Wait, how many touchdowns does he have now?
12. He tied bathrooms.
Wow.
He tied the 12. So we've tied the bathrooms. Okay, so he has 12 rushing and passing. So maybe only 11 passing touchdowns.
He did it,
so the bathrooms are hanging on by a thread. But this was the end of the Broncos season. It really was. And it ended on kind of a moral victory bang. There were a lot of great takeaways. Why would you want to put anything else out there, frankly? And I know this sounds weird, but this game mattered at home. The Cardinals game and the Chargers game at home, they really don't matter. Never mind the Rams on Christmas Day. That game really doesn't matter.
The rest of the schedule is really unfortunate, to be honest.
Well, it would have been exciting if they were a good team, but they're not. So we saw, to me, Rachel and James, an interesting end to the season. A lot of great takeaways. It kind of feels like this game and the first loss against Seattle are kind of the same thing. Like, disappointing, but a lot of great things that you could sort of take off. We just didn't think the Seahawks were going to be any good. It turns out the Seahawks are probably a playoff team. So they're a lot better than we thought they were going to be. And the Chiefs, we know, are arguably the best team in the league.
Okay, so here, let me ask you both this question then. Say Russell Wilson is done for the rest of the season. They decide to sit him. Okay, well, I didn't have my starting quarterback, George Payton. So can I have another shot? I didn't have how many starters are out for this team?
Oh my gosh.
So many. I can't even keep track of them at this point.
And that's part of the equation, right? Like, you could make an argument to continue to play Russell Wilson if he was playing with guys he's going to be playing with next year.
All right.
Build the chemistry.
Doesn't matter.
I don't even know that that's a good argument, but you could make it. There's no sense in him going out there and playing behind a hodgepodge offensive line and throwing the ball to Brandon and handing it to Marlon Mack and handing it to a bunch of who made a nice play today. But there's so many guys on the field today who won't be here next year. There's nothing to gain. Do I think Russell Wilson will be on the field next week? No. Do I think he'll be on the field Christmas Day in LA? I do. But I think that's a tip of the cap to Russell Wilson. It's not the smart thing to do, but it's why it was the final thing for me today that won me over. Yeah, he does a lot of things that are diva. He does, and I get it, and they drive me nuts, and I was mad about it in July. But he wasn't a prima donna today in the way he played, and I think he deserves some credit for that because, man, that guy gets ripped for everything he does. So we got to give him credit when he goes out and does the kind of thing you're like, yeah, you know what? I respect that.
He cares about the game of football a lot.
I think it's been a tough year. I think it's been embarrassing, maybe even humiliating at certain points. But hey, he's got my props today, no doubt about it. No ripping on Russell Wilson for me. He showed his Wolverine blood out there today, and things were down. Things were really, really, really bad, and they did not quit, and they got a little lucky because Kansas City's got. If I'm Kansas City, I'm freaking out right now because Patrick Mahomes is, dude. I'm gonna tell my grandchildren, hopefully no time soon. Although my youngest,
How old are your
just
kids?
well old enough, Rachel, to have me tell my grandkids something next year. But let's just keep it mellow, okay? But this guy Patrick Mahomes he's epic. He's legendary. You can't
He's
find
a generational talent.
he is what a generational talent looks like.
Yes.
And that dude just made plays today. Not many, if any, players can make or could ever make.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what to call his underarm side hip toss flip.
I know.
I mean, what are you even supposed to say about that? And I don't blame the corner for pinching up to try to make the tackle there. The ball was around his waist. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is incredible. He is 15-0 against the AFC West on the road in his career. That is a mind-boggling number to think he is undefeated on the road against division opponents, and that rolled on today. So I'm not mad. I'm not angry. I'm impressed by Russ. I give the Broncos credit for heart, and they need to move on from Hackett because the guy just puts them in some ridiculous situations, and they just need to sort of get it together better.
Another reason, too. Oh, go ahead, James. I'll let you do
I was
it.
saying, you guys were down on the field. You were probably in the tunnel, so I'm not sure you saw this. But at the end of the game, Jonathan Cooper is getting into it with some of the Chiefs fans after the kneel down. Okay, like the game's over, but I at least appreciate the fact that there's a player on the team who just put it all on the line, and he's ticked, and he's not just shaking hands and exchanging jerseys and doing all that nonsense, right?
Yeah.
And here's
yeah.
the running out, trying to break it up, and hey, all's fine, all's fine. That guy has no competitive spirit at all.
Right.
Out. He should be gone tomorrow. He should have been gone 3 weeks ago. It's 4 weeks from tomorrow is the end at worst for Nathaniel Hackett. But that was bad. Like, you got one of your guys that's out there. And look, I know you don't want him to be in a fight. I get it. But they were finally showing some fight. And your reaction as the head coach is to come try to squelch it. Told me all I need to know about Nathaniel Hackett.
What's an interesting way to look at it, too, is I don't think it's Hackett who's keeping this team together. And surprisingly enough, I kind of feel like it's Russ. Where this team is at and how bad they've been, for the fact that it still looks out there, or they go out there and they look like a team, that's pretty shocking, you guys, for how bad this offense is. And I feel like the only person on the offense you can really get it credit to, because we've seen such a rotation, is Russell Wilson.
You know, I don't think they hate Russ. I'm sure they're happy to go to his birthday party, at least most of them, all of that stuff. It's they want reasons to believe in the guy, and he certainly offered examples of that. But I'm telling you this, he's got to be able to do what he did today on a regular basis. You have to be a threat to pick up a first down running the ball. And, bad things can happen, but the top quarterbacks in the league all do it, at least a handful of times a game. So you can't get freaked out that you got hurt this time, because either you're capable of having those moments or you're just going to be stuck like you were. So it's a tricky deal, man. Yeah. And he likely has to get in a different type of shape in the offseason and have a different type of coach. The problem is, I don't know who that coach is. We did some digging on it this weekend, and apparently he's really not in good standing with any of his former coaches. I mean, not his assistant coaches, offensive coordinators. Like, I'm not exactly sure where we go here, Rachel. James, I'm up for your suggestions, but I don't think it's necessarily an easy answer. What you can hope, though, here's what you can hope. You simplify things to a degree to make things easier for Russ, and you've got to work on your offensive line. This offensive line is absolute garbage. I mean, it's absolutely embarrassingly awful.
So then can you count out Sean Payton as the next head coach of the Broncos, because you really can't afford to trade your first-round pick? You need somebody from that first-round pick for the offensive line.
Well, I'm in the collapse for Caleb business anyways.
Okay.
So I'm in a different category.
Go ahead, James.
I'm going out on the limb of, look, who wanted to retire a year ago or walk away a year ago? Sean McVay. If I'm Greg Penner, I'm offering that guy $20 million to walk away, and I'm trading the Rams whatever they need. I want Sean McVay here to come fix Russell Wilson. If you can go to a Super Bowl with Jared Goff, you can win with Russell Wilson.
Okay, we did just get an update, too, from Troy Rank, that Russell Wilson is up in the locker room, walking around, did take a phone call from Sierra, and then went back to the training room.
Okay, well, All good signs. I mean, certainly better than being in an ambulance going to a hospital.
Absolutely.
Something like that. Concussions are weird deals.
Yes.
You got to be super careful with them. And I am scared for NFL guys who come back too soon from concussion. So we'll just take it as that be. The next game is a home game against the Cardinals. Freaking who cares? That's here next Sunday, and nobody cares about that game. There may be 10,000 no-shows. Who cares? There were plenty of people here today. And were there some Chiefs fans? Yeah, but it wasn't mostly Chiefs fans. It wasn't like Bruins fans at the Avalanche game the other night, that's for sure. And the Broncos crowd was loud when they needed to be. They were a great crowd tonight. They're a smart crowd. And they got a fun game. So a lot of things we thought were going to happen actually didn't happen. There was a lot of enthusiasm. The Broncos fans showed up, and the game was hella competitive in the second half once things got going. Hey, I'll say this. On the year, if I had to say another bright spot about everything on the year, inside linebacker was a huge question. And you've had nothing but incredible play, basically from everybody who's playing inside linebacker. And tonight, the star of the show was Josie Jewell. So how about that for an unexpected consequence of being in a tough spot? So again, terrible offensive line play, couldn't run the ball, didn't really try all that hard to do it. Couldn't do it anyways if they wanted to. Russ was getting hammered left and right, but they gave enough protection, enough of the time to make it interesting for the touchdown passes.
James, as always, appreciate all your insight. He will be with us tomorrow morning on Coffee Break, 10:30 a.m. James, have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
All right, James Marilat right there. You know, it's funny. You talk so much about Teddy Bridgewater's business decision last year, right? It's almost like Russ made a business decision of, I'm going to dive into this end zone because I have to get this offense rolling. Otherwise, he would have slid.
Yeah, it was an interesting play because as he broke off to his right, it was, Rachel, it was wide open.
I know.
I mean, it was like, whoa, like you got a lot of room to run. They had to convert a first down as well on that play. So it wasn't as simple as I just got to slide here at any time. And then you get inside the 5. I mean, you're so close.
But again, it was that business decision of we need this touchdown.
No,
we're settling for a field goal.
I think that took a lot of guts, a lot of courage.
And it sucks that he ended up hurt.
It sucks that he ended up getting hurt.
Who knows? This could have been a Sunday night worthy game.
No, hey, the loser of the week is NBC. Are you kidding me? There is zero chance. There's zero chance the Sunday night game is going to be better than what we just saw. Now, they may have had a lot of clicks off, but comebacks are always great stories. And people just start re-engaging. I guarantee you we'll hear stories about people who left at 27-0 and then just were like, oh my God, I can't believe I left. Or people started doing like, my wife just starts doing stuff around the house, listening.
It's on the TV.
Yeah, but I guarantee that there's like, whoa, what is happening? Like, I am re-engaging in what's happening. You know what's crazy, too, is that the Avalanche gave up a shorthanded goal with like a minute to go, and they're losing 2-1. And Patrick Surtain and Mikko Rantanen like had an interception and scored like at the same time. So as the Avs are like winning in overtime, the Broncos are starting to make a comeback with Patrick Surtain's interception. So it was kind of this very weird sort of like, holy cow, what's going on here sort of moment. So we had some great stuff. We had some great stuff today. James, man, I love James, but like his pro-Russ agenda, and I get it, he's pro-Russ.
I'm here for it. I mean, you have.
All right, Rachel, do you have more faith in Russell Wilson after today?
Absolutely. He's doing this with a nobody squad behind him, D-Mac. You have to give that like a little bit of credit. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the Brandon Johnsons, the Kendall Hintons of the world, but they were never supposed to come in and be wide receiver number 1, number 2. Jerry Jeudy, yes, Jerry Judy's finally showing up when he has to. We have to give credit.
All right, I'll give you this, Rachel. If you can get the offense to about 15th to 18th, somewhere in there, a mediocre offense that doesn't give the ball away, and you maintain a spectacular defense, you do have a shot to win. That is exactly how the Broncos won the Super Bowl in 2015. So you have to work around the limitations of Russell Wilson. It's just never going to be that wham-bam sort of exciting, dynamic offense that you were hoping for. It's not going to be that. But can you win games and be more successful? You can. You've got to build an offensive line. You've got to make an investment in better receivers. Jerry Jeudy had a great game today, so he's one of them. Hopefully you get Tim Patrick back. Maybe you trade Cortland Sutton and you see if you can get some trade picks or different assets. Maybe he's the one that you got to move on from.
Chemistry's just not there.
Dalton Reisner was hurt today, and you've got to invest in your offensive line and get yourself a right tackle. Garrett Bowles comes back. All right, Rach, I'm here for you. I'm trying to help out.
Afford to get rid of Russell Wilson. He's got like 42 sacks on his body. Okay, like,
he's getting hammered
left and right. Here we are. He's still showing that he wants to win games, which I don't think you find a lot of. Again, we could have. I know the record was better last year, but we could have a Teddy Bridgewater who does make that business decision. Where I want a quarterback who's going to go out there and battle every single time. I'm jumping back on. I'm jumping back on the Russ train because he showed heart today, and that's something that I feel like you don't get out of a lot when you've got a bad record like this. I feel like I'm getting
okay, but like there's. See, I don't want to rag on him today, so I'll just agree with you, and we can talk about it on Coffee Break tomorrow. But I'll say let's stay on the Russ train today. I'll be jumping on the Russ train with you and supporting him today.
We're still on one thing. Hackett, he's got to go.
Yeah, he's toast.
A coaching situation, he's got to go. So we can do on that and then discuss many options for what we do with Russell Wilson. But everybody else, thank you. Well, we just got told in our ear KJ Hamler hamstring injury, but KJ Hamler was
he wasn't playing in the game.
He was on IR today.
Yeah, he's been on IR for the past month. But yeah, he's Kendall Hinton.
All right, we got people in the back. Jake does a fantastic job. Kendall Hinton hamstring injury. Another one. Add it to the list. Where's the bingo card, everybody?
Again, just a final thought here tonight. This was a exciting game. It is a moral victory in a lost season, and that's it. We don't need to play anybody anymore. We can lose the next 4 games. It's okay. It sucks. It doesn't look good going 3-14. Obviously, Rachel.
Sucks giving that better pick to the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, but and I'm not holding out hope about beating Kansas City in Kansas City. Forget it.
Are you saying I shouldn't go to the game?
You're going to that game?
I'm planning on it.
No.
Here's my only thing.
Sure, I didn't know.
If Patrick Mahomes and them aren't going to play, what a bummer.
Well, I think
on it right now.
I think they're going to care about the number 1 seed, and the Bills did win today. They beat the Jets. That remains the Chiefs are tied with the Bills, but the Bills own the tiebreaker. So these games are going to be important. This game was important to the Chiefs for sure. So no, you're going to Kansas City for the game?
Kansas City, New Year's Day. I know.
Wow.
We'll do a little check-in from KC. I know.
All right.
It'll be fun. All right. Well, tomorrow morning, this guy, myself, will be on Coffee Break 10:30. James Marilla as well will join us. We'll break it all down all over again after. Maybe we're not on such a moral victory hype, but who knows? Maybe we will be tomorrow. You never know what you're going to get with us. 10:30 a.m. Make sure you come join us. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us here on Postgame Live, and we will see you tomorrow morning.